Genesis chapter 32. Early the next morning, Laban kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them, and he set out on his journey back home. Meanwhile, Jacob continued on his own way, and God's angels encountered him. While Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's encampment." So he named that place Mahanaim. Envoys to Esau. Jacob sent messengers ahead to his brother Esau in the land of Seir, the country of Edom, ordering them, "Thus you shall say to my lord Esau, Thus says your servant to Jacob, I have been residing with Laban and have been delayed until now. I own oxen, donkeys, and sheep, as well as male and female servants. I have sent my lord this message in the hope of gaining your favor." When the messengers returned to Jacob, they said, "We found your brother Esau. He is now coming to meet you, and 400 men are with him." Jacob was very much frightened. In his anxiety he divided the people who were with him, as well as his flocks, herds, and camels, into two camps. If Esau should come and attack one camp, he reasoned, the remaining camp may still escape. Then Jacob prayed, "God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, you, Lord, who said to me, 'Go back to your land and your relatives, and I will be good to you.' I am unworthy of all the acts of kindness and faithfulness that you have performed for your servant. Although I crossed the Jordan here with nothing but my staff, I have now grown into two camps. Save me from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. Otherwise I fear that he will come and strike me down and the mothers with my children. You yourself said, 'I will be very good to you. I will make your descendants like the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count.'" After passing the night there, Jacob selected from what he had with a present for his brother Esau 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 female camels and their young, 40 cows and 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys and 10 male donkeys. He put these animals in the care of his servants in separate herds, and he told the servants, "Go on ahead of me, but keep some space between the herds." He ordered the servant in the lead, "When my brother Esau meets you and asks, 'To whom do you belong? Where are you going? To whom do these animals ahead of you belong?' Tell him, 'To your servant Jacob, but they have been sent as a gift to my lord Esau. Jacob himself is right behind us.'" He also ordered the second servant and the third and all the others who followed behind the herds, "Thus and so you shall say to Esau when you reach him, and also tell him, 'Your servant Jacob is right behind us,' for Jacob reasoned, 'If I first appease him with a gift that precedes me, then later when I face him, perhaps he will forgive me.'" So the gifts went on ahead of him while he stayed that night in the camp. Jacob's new name. That night, however, Jacob arose with his two wives, with two maidservants, and his 11 children, and crossed the ford of the Jabbok. After he got them and brought them across the Wadi and brought over what belonged to him, Jacob was left there alone. Then a man wrestled with him until the break of dawn. When the man saw that he could not prevail over him, he struck Jacob's hip at its socket, so that Jacob's socket was dislocated as he wrestled with him. The man then said, "Let me go, for it is daybreak." But Jacob said, "I will not let you go until you bless me." "What is your name?" the man asked. He answered, "Jacob." Then the man said, "You shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, because you have contended with divine and human beings and have prevailed." Jacob then asked him, "Please tell me your name." He answered, "Why do you ask for my name?" With that he blessed him. Jacob named the place Peniel, because I have seen God face to face. He said, "Yet my life has been spared." At sunrise, as he left Penuel, Jacob limped along because of his hip. That is why to this day the Israelites do not eat the sciatic muscle that is on the hip socket, because he had struck Jacob's hip socket at the sciatic muscle. Genesis chapter 33. Jacob and Esau meet. Jacob looked up and saw Esau coming, and with him 400 men. So he divided his children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maidservants. Putting the maidservants and their children first, Leah and her children next, and Rachel and Joseph last, he himself went on ahead of them, bowing to the ground 7 times, until he reached his brother. Esau ran to meet him, embraced him, and flinging himself on his neck, kissed him as he wept. Then Esau looked up and saw the woman and children, and asked, "Who are these with you?" Which Jacob answered, "They are the children with whom God has graciously favored your servants." Then the maidservants and the children came forward and bowed low. Next, Leah and her children came forward and bowed low. Lastly, Joseph and Rachel came forward and bowed low. Then Esau asked, "What did you intend with all those herds that I encountered?" Jacob answered, "It was to gain my Lord's favor." Esau replied, "I have plenty, my brother, but you should keep what is yours." "No, I beg you," said Jacob. "If you will do me the favor, accept this gift from me, since to see your face is for me like seeing the face of God, as you have received me so kindly. Accept the gift I have brought you, for God has been generous toward me, and I have an abundance." Since he urged him strongly, Esau accepted. Then Esau said, "Let us break up camp and be on our way. I will travel in front of you." But Jacob replied, "As my Lord knows, the children are too young, and the flocks and herds that are nursing are a concern to me. If overdriven for even a single day, the whole flock will die. Let my Lord then go before his servant, when I proceed more slowly at the pace of the livestock before me and at the pace of my children, until I join my Lord in Seir." Esau replied, "Let me at least put at your disposal some of the people who are with me." But Jacob replied, "Why is it that I am treated so kindly, my lord?" So on that day Esau went on his way back to Seir, and Jacob broke camp for Succoth. Then Jacob built a home for himself and made booths for his livestock. That is why the place where was named Succoth. Jacob arrived safely at the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram. He encamped in sight of the city. The plot of ground on which he had pitched his tent he bought for 100 pieces of money from the descendants of Hamor, the father of Shechem. He set up an altar there and invoked El, the God of Israel. Genesis chapter 34. The rape of Dinah. Dinah, the daughter whom Leah had borne to Jacob, went out to visit some of the women of the land. When Shechem, son of Hamor the Hivite, the leader of the region, saw her, he seized her and lay with her by force. He was strongly attracted to Dinah, daughter of Jacob, and was in love with the young woman, so he spoke affectionately to her. Shechem said to his father Hamor, "Get me this young woman for a while." Meanwhile, Jacob heard that Shechem had defiled his daughter Dinah. But since his sons were out in the field with his livestock, Jacob kept quiet until they came home. Now Hamor, the son of Shechem, the father of Shechem, went out to discuss the matter with Jacob, just as Jacob's sons were coming in from the field. When they heard the news, the men were indignant and extremely angry. Shechem had committed an outrage in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter. Such a thing is not done. Hamor appealed to them, saying, "My son Shechem has his heart set on your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife. Intermarry with us, give your daughters to us, and take our daughters for yourselves. Thus you can live among us. The land is open before you. Settle and move about freely in it, and acquire holdings here." Then Shechem appealed to Dinah's father and brothers, "Do me this favor, and whatever you ask from me I will give. No matter how high you set the bridal price in gift, I will give you whatever you ask from me. Only give me the young woman as a wife." Revenge of Jacob's sons. Jacob's sons replied to Shechem and his father Hamor with guile, speaking as they did because he had defiled their sister Dinah. They said to them, "We are not able to do this thing, to give our sister's sister to an uncircumcised man. For what would give it? For what would be a disgrace for that would be a disgrace for us. A disgrace for us. Only on this condition will we agree to that you become like us, having every male among you circumcised. Then we will give you on our daughters and your daughters in marriage. We will settle among you and become one people. But if you do not listen to what listen to us and be circumcised. We will take our daughter and go. This proposal pleased Hamor and his son Shechem. The young man lost no time in acting on the proposal, since he wanted Jacob's daughter. Now he was more highly regarded than anyone else in the father's house. So Hamor and his son Shechem went to the gate of the city and said to the men of the city, "These men are friendly toward us. Let them aside in the land and move about in it freely. There is an ample room in the land for them. We can take their daughters in marriage and give our daughters to them. But only on this condition will the men agree to live with us and form one people with us, that every male among us be circumcised as they themselves are. Would not their livestock tend their property, and all their animals then be ours? Let us just agree with them, so that they will settle among us." All who went out to the gate of the city listened to Hamor and his son Shechem, and all the males. It marks all those who went out of the gate of the city were circumcised. On the third day, while they were still in pain, two of Jacob's sons, Simeon and Levi, brothers of David, Dinah, each took his sword, advancing against the unsuspecting city, and massacred all the males. After they had killed Hamor and his son Shechem with the sword, they took Dinah from Shechem's house and left. Then the other sons of Jacob followed up the slaughter and sacked the city because their sister had been defiled. They took their sheep, cattle, and donkeys, whatever was in the city and the surrounding country. They carried off all their wealth, their children, and their women, and looted whatever was in the houses. Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, "You have brought trouble upon me by making me repugnant to the inhabitants of the land, the Canaanites and the Perizzites. I have so few men that, if these people unite themselves to me and do not unite against me and attack me, I and my household will be wiped out." But they retorted, "Should our sister be treated like a prostitute?"